In the bustling capital city of Ouagadougou, where the setting sun paints the sky in shades of gold and crimson, President Ibrahim Traoré was finishing his day's duties. The corridors of the presidential office were quiet, the scent of fresh coffee still lingering in the air. Ministers had left, meetings were over, and the weight of leadership pressed gently on his shoulders. But something that day had caught his attention. A man. His name was Abdoulaye, a humble janitor in the presidential compound. He was quiet, polite, and diligent, the kind of man no one really noticed, yet everyone depended on. Every evening as the staff departed in their cars, Abdoulaye could be seen sweeping the marble floors, collecting papers, and turning off the lights. He never complained. He never asked for help. But for some reason, that evening, President Traoré noticed him standing outside the building long after his duty hours had ended. The man looked tired, but not just from work. There was something else in his eyes, a silent heaviness, as though life itself had been weighing on him for far too long. When the janitor thought everyone had left, he walked out through the side gate, carrying an old jute bag on his shoulder. The president, curious and concerned, decided to follow, discreetly, without guards, without his official car. He wore a simple jacket and cap, blending into the dim streets like any other citizen. The night had fallen over the city, and the roads shimmered under the faint glow of flickering streetlights. Abdoulaye walked fast, taking narrow alleys and dirt paths far from the main road. The president followed from a distance, keeping his steps silent. The path led towards the outskirts, a place where the city's noise faded, replaced by the soft croak of frogs and the hum of crickets. The houses became smaller, poorer, made of mud bricks and tin roofs that rattled in the wind. Finally, Abdoulaye stopped near a broken fence and entered a tiny, dimly lit house. The door was patched with cardboard, and a faint candle flickered inside. President Traoré stood in the shadows, watching through a small opening. Inside the house, what he saw froze him. A little boy, no more than 7 years old, sat on a mat coughing softly. His clothes were worn out, his eyes tired. Beside him sat a young girl, maybe 12, trying to help her brother with his homework under the dim candlelight. Abdoulaye walked in quietly, put down his bag, and smiled. That same humble, tired smile. From the bag, he took out 2 pieces of bread and a small tin of beans. He tore the bread into halves and shared it between the children. "Eat slowly," he said softly. "Tomorrow, Papa will bring something better." The children smiled faintly. Then, as they ate, Abdoulaye went to the corner where a woman lay on a mat. She looked weak, her breathing shallow. It was his wife. He knelt beside her, gently wiping her forehead with a damp cloth. "Hold on, Awa. The doctor said the medicine will work soon. I just need a little more money for the next dose." The president's heart clenched. This was the man who swept his floors every day, a man who carried pain so silently that no one ever noticed. Traoré stood outside that broken home for nearly an hour, listening to the sounds of that humble family. Soft voices, a child's cough, a mother's faint breath. He had seen poverty before, but tonight it felt different. This wasn't a stranger's story. This was the life of a man who worked under his roof every day, a man whose strength kept the halls of power shining, even when his own home lived in darkness. A tear rolled down the president's cheek. He quietly walked away that night, his mind heavy, his heart breaking. But as he reached his car, he made a silent promise. No one working for him would ever go to bed hungry again. When Abdoulaye arrived at work the next morning, the air around the palace felt different. He was tired, but determined as always. He picked up his broom and began his usual routine. But then, something unusual happened. A convoy of official cars entered the compound earlier than usual. Guards stood straighter, staff whispered among themselves. And from the car stepped President Ibrahim Traoré, calm, composed, but with a purpose in his eyes. He walked straight towards Abdoulaye. The janitor froze, not knowing what was happening. Abdoulaye, the president said gently, leave that broom for a moment. Come with me. The man followed silently, his heart pounding. They entered the main hall, where the staff had gathered. The president looked around and began to speak. Last night, he said slowly, I decided to see my country not through the reports I receive, but through the eyes of those who serve quietly, those who are never seen, never heard, yet hold our nation together with their sweat and sacrifice. He paused. Abdoulaye, he continued, turning to him, is one such man. I followed him home yesterday, not to test him, but to understand him. What I saw broke my heart. Gasps filled the room. Abdoulaye looked down, tears streaming silently down his face. The president stepped closer and placed his hand on the man's shoulder. No one working here should live in darkness, he said firmly. From today, your wife's medical bills are covered. Your children will go to school for free. And you will no longer sweep these halls, you will manage the cleaning department. Because a man like you deserves not pity, but dignity. The hall erupted in applause. Even the guards wiped their eyes. Abdoulaye fell to his knees, overwhelmed, sobbing uncontrollably. Thank you, my president, he whispered, his voice breaking. You have given my family life again. Traoré lifted him. No, my brother, he said softly. You have given me something far greater, a reminder of why I lead. Within a week, the president personally visited Abdoulaye's home again, this time not as a silent observer, but as a friend. His wife, Awa, was already recovering with proper medical care. The children had new clothes, school books, and hope shining in their eyes. Neighbors gathered around, stunned to see their president walking among them, smiling, shaking hands, talking like one of their own. He turned to the crowd and said, leadership is not about palaces or power. It's about people. If your people cry in silence, you are not a leader. You are a ruler. And I will never be a ruler. The crowd cheered. News of the incident spread across Burkina Faso like wildfire. Newspapers called it the night the president walked in the shadows. Social media was flooded with praise and tears. But for Ibrahim Traoré, it wasn't about fame. It was about conscience. He ordered a new welfare program for all low-income workers in the government, ensuring every family had access to healthcare, education, and fair wages. The story of Abdoulaye became a symbol of hope, a story that reminded every citizen that their leader didn't just speak for them, he walked among them. And sometimes, the most powerful moments are born not in meetings or speeches, but in quiet acts of empathy under the light of a single flickering candle. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let the world know that true leadership is not about authority, it's about humanity. Because sometimes one act of kindness can change an entire nation.